Joining us now from Washington, Bill McKibben, an environmentalist and author who spent the weekend with fellow demonstrators in a Washington jail. Mr. McKibben, thanks for your time tonight.
Keith, what a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. It's ours. President Obama can decide this without Congress. What's his political calculation, and which side do you expect him to end up on?
Well, I think we're changing the odds of that at the moment. You know, a week ago, I think there's little question he would have gone ahead. Think of the pressure that's coming from the most powerful, profitable industry on the planet. But we've succeeded by organizing the largest civil disobedience protest in the environmental movement in decades in nationalizing this issue. It's no longer just people along the pipeline route and native people who really have been carrying this fight for a couple of years. Now it's people from all 50 states who have come to Washington to get arrested, and the media coverage that they're drawing is producing things like that editorial in the Times. So it's beginning to shift. It's going to be gut check time for the president. When he ran for president, he said, the night he was nominated, in fact, he said, you know what, when I'm president, the rise of the oceans will begin to slow and the planet will begin to heal. That's powerful talk. He hasn't yet done heroic things on the environment. He's done some good things around the edges, but nothing transformative. And he's backed down on some important fights. This time, he can't blame it on Congress. He doesn't need to ask Jim Inhofe's permission. He doesn't need any help from the Congress. He can turn down this permit himself, and if he does, and here I think is the political calculation, if he does, it will send a surge of excitement through that base. We were sitting lying on the metal shelves in the what's called central cell block in the Washington jail the other day, and people were saying, you know, the last time I was this uncomfortable, I was lying in a church basement getting ready to go knock on doors for Barack Obama. I sure hope I get reminded of why I was doing all that.
Obviously, transporting oil involves risk. Even the most dedicated environmentalist president would not be able to dismantle the oil reliance of this country in a matter of years, let alone decades probably. But why is this one project worse than usual, worse than acceptable?
Sure. The answer lies at heart in the place it's coming from. Those tar sands of Canada are the second largest pool of carbon on Earth, only after the Saudi Arabian oil fields. We plumbed those Saudi oil fields 70 years ago when no one had heard of global warming. If we do the same kind of thing, make the same kind of investment, produce the same volumes of oil from Canada, then as Jim Hansen at NASA, our leading climate scientist, put it not long ago, it will be essentially game over for the climate. That's about as strong language as you're likely to get from a scientist, and it's a reminder that we need to leave carbon in the ground. It's exactly the same principle as, say, telling the Brazilians that they need to guard their rainforest, not cut it down. If the Brazilians, who are poor, are supposed to guard their rainforest, and actually they've begun to do a pretty good job of just that, then surely North Americans who aren't poor should be able to keep their hands off something as dangerous as all that oil. It's risky in transmission. It'll almost certainly spill in places like the Ogallala Aquifer. The precursor pipeline has leaked 12 times in 12 months, you know. But even if that oil gets safely to Texas, that's just that much more of it to spill into the atmosphere. Essentially game over for the climate. That's why this has emerged as the premier environmental test for Barack Obama between now and the next election.
And the rationalization for going ahead for it, obviously they're not going to say we're going to do this to put more money in the oil companies' pockets, but there's not even some huge gain in jobs created or something to throw out?
You know, you're going to have to, some people are going to have to build the pipeline. The State Department in its analysis estimates a few thousand jobs, about 800 or 900 of them for people along the pipeline route. But of course, that's dwarfed by the number of people who would be employed turning to the wind and the sun if we decide that we're no longer going to allow our addiction to oil to grow, that we're not going to find one more vein in, to exploit. Instead, we're going to make the beginning of what, as you point out, will be a long and difficult transition off fossil fuel. But as long as we keep pumping to the ground every barrel we can find, then we'll never make that transition. And it's that kind of transformation that Barack Obama needs to show us he'll lead on.
Bill McKibben of tarsandaction.org, great thanks for your time and good luck with this.
Thanks so much.